The history of baseball is filled with stories and stars, and the Show Me State holds its own special place in that history, the 1985 World Series. No baseball fan in mid-America will ever forget it. Now there are new stars shining in the sky, a future Hall of Famer in Albert Pujols, and a pair of young pitchers who brighten the future for the Royals. So watch the stars come out tonight on Fox Sports Kansas City. Yes, interleague play continues, but this is the I-70 series, which is much bigger in Kansas City than the American League against the National League. A sellout crowd of blue and red are here tonight to watch the Royals and the Cardinals. And welcome to the ballpark, Ryan Lefevre with Royals Hall of Famer Frank White, and the Cardinals come in the middle of the race in the National League Central, and it's difficult to talk about them without mentioning two-time MVP Albert Pujols, but he can't do it alone, or can he?
Well, I think he can. He really does. He just changes the game, Ryan. And he's the kind of guy that the opposing manager is going to walk. They're going to pitch around, so he's always on base. And if you pitch to him, he's got a chance to break the game wide open. So he breaks everybody's concentration, not only the starting pitcher, the defense, but also the manager.
Now, he's much better when he has supporting staff like Rick Ankiel and Ryan Ludwig, who are off to slow starts this year. In fact, both have been on the disabled list. The Royals didn't seed Ludwig at all when they were in St. Louis, and Ankiel came back from the disabled list at the end of the series, but both had big home run seasons last year. Now, on the Royals side, offense is starting to heat up. The Royals have hit over 300 in their last 10 games. David DeJesus has been batting mostly leadoff over that stretch. He's starting to heat up.
Well, David's been really kind of slowly heating up since the last road trip. We could see right away he was making some adjustments to hitting the ball in the left field. He was getting himself jammed and getting base hits over shortstop. Now he's to the point where he's a lot more confident, and he's starting to drive the ball to left center field again.
More runs means more run support, and that helped Kyle Davies win his last start.
Well, Kyle basically has to go out there and establish himself, Ryan. Establish his fastball, utilize his curveball, and his changeup. The cutter is one of those effective pitches that he's got to pick a good spot for it. I think it's mainly just really his curveball and the fastball where his confidence is.
Brad Thompson will pitch for the Cardinals. He is in there because Kyle Loesch is on the DL, and he's had a bad time with Mark Teahen, who hits .558 against him. We'll talk more about the Cardinals and the race in the National League Central right after this. Royals baseball brought to you tonight by Panera Bread. Explore a menu full of hearty soups, hand-tossed salads, inventive sandwiches, and savory breakfast items. Panera Bread, where every detail matters. And by Thoroughbred Ford. Want a great deal on a new F-150 at Thoroughbred Ford? We'll make it happen. As far as records go, the Cardinals have had a much better year than the Royals, but these are still meaningful games for both teams.
Well, definitely for the Royals, because they're trying to get themselves going up in the division, and these are big games. The NL Central, AL Central, anybody's division at this point.
Frank, you talked about Kyle Davies and what he has to do against the Cardinals. Here's the M&I Bank Cardinals batting order tonight, and it all revolves around Albert Pujols. Ryan Ludwig is batting fourth. Rick Ankiel, however, who's normally in the middle of the batting order, will be hitting seventh. Well, we talked about David DeJesus warming up. Mark Teahen the same. Jose Guillen coming off a series against the Diamondbacks where he had 3 RBIs, and the legs looking better both on offense and on defense. The first pitch is next. Tonight's game is brought to you in high definition by Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable. Royals are on the field, and we are set for part 2 of the I-70 series. The Cardinals took 2 out of 3 last month in St. Louis. Kyle Davies makes his second start against the Cardinals this year. Here's the Kia scouting report.
Well, Ryan Kyle had the 3.32 ERA when striking out 4 or more hitters. 2.79 ERA in 3 career games versus the Cardinals. So he has a lot of positives going into this game that works to his advantage.
On May the 22nd, took the loss, but he allowed just 2 runs in 6 innings, only 3 hits in 6 innings. and 7 strikeouts, but the Royals were shut out in that game 5-0. Tony La Russa, 14th year as manager of the Cardinals, won the World Series in 2006 over the Tigers. He and Sparky Anderson are the only managers in Major League history have won both the World Series in the National League and the American League. And Skip Schumacher drives one into right field on the very first pitch. Guillen is on it quickly, and it's a leadoff single. Take a look at the Royals defensively tonight with DeJesus, Meyer, and Guillen in the outfield. Tien, Bloomquist, Callaspo, and Butler around the horn. And Miguel Olivo, who got last night off against Arizona, is behind the plate for Kyle Davies. And now Colby Rasmus, former first-round pick of the Cardinals. Davies ahead 0-1. Cardinals been waiting on this guy for a long time to get to the big leagues and have a big year. First-round pick in 05, minor league player of the year in 06, and Baseball America naming him the Cardinals' #1 prospect in 07 and 08, and also coming into this year. So big expectations on one young man.
Well, you know, every guy who gets drafted high like that has those expectations. I think you would probably put Alex Gordon in that same company. When you go that high and you have great minor league seasons and you win every minor league award, then the expectations just get greater as you move up.
He did not chase the curveball, says Joe West, crew chief.
Well, this is a good look at it here. Just watch the head of the bat. And he did keep the head of the bat back, even though his wrist went forward.
Two and two. Well, as far as expectations on a young player, Kyle Davies knows all about that. So I'm sure he doesn't have a lot of sympathy for Colby Rasmus. Kyle Davies, speaking of Baseball America, was named the nation's best 14-year-old and the next year the nation's best 15-year-old baseball player, which is almost cruel. Deep right field, Guillen getting turned around, and it's off the wall. And plays it so well that after all that, Rasmus has a single. The Cardinals have runners at first and third and nobody out.
Well, around the 2 hits that Cal's given up this inning, it's been high fastballs and down the middle of the plate, a little bit in, and Rasmus really got the head of the bat on this ball. But it got over Guillen's head before Guillen could get turned around good. But like you said, the good thing he did well, he played it off the wall and held him to a single.
Well, you'd always like to have the option to pitch around Albert Pujols. But that is not an option here unless you want to load the bases with nobody out in the first inning.
Well, it might be one of those intentional, non-intentional walks. You want to give him something, but you don't want to stay. You want to stay out of the middle of the plate. You want to try to get him to reach for something and hopefully hit a ground ball.
Off of Olivo's glove, and a runner is going to move up. So no chance for a ground ball and a double play. But one thing the Royals really need to tighten up in this series is their defense. 3 errors last night and 3 errors on Wednesday night against Arizona.
Well, this is just a ball that Olivo just kind of whiffed on. It was right there for him and it just hit up the top of his glove and went behind him.
He charged with a pass ball, and now second and third for Pujols. Into left field. 1 runner home. Rasmus going to be waved to the plate, and DeJesus' throw is short. The Cardinals lead 2-0. Nobody out in the first inning.
Well, this is what makes Albert Pujols so tough. He knows how to drive in runs. Kyle Davies throws a cutter on the outside part of the plate, and Albert Pujols, he's so strong that he went out there and pulled that ball back to left field.
Frank, is there a more level swing in baseball than Albert Pujols, and especially the one we just saw?
Well, the thing I like about him too, Ryan, the swing is level, his balance is good, his base is good. But the thing that he does well is he adjusts his hands to where the ball is rather than having a groove swing in one spot. He can get above the fastball that's up, and he can adjust himself away on ball. So being able to swing on the plane of the ball is what he does well.
So he has driven in 60. That single to left field. And now Ryan Ludwig. Royals didn't see him in St. Louis. He was on the DL with a hamstring injury. 2 balls, no strikes. When Kyle Davies faced the Cardinals back in May, he allowed 2 runs in the first inning. It was a long first inning for him. 30 pitches, allowing the 2 runs, and then after that retired 15 in a row and then had to depart early. Went 6 innings. Could have gone longer, but because of the National League rules, Trey Hillman had to make a tough decision when his spot came up in the batting order and elected to go with the pinch hitter.
That's one thing about the National League game that I think a lot of people like, is that there's no guessing. There's no, well, maybe he can get one more guy, or maybe he can go one more inning. The game kind of dictates what happens in the National League. So I think handling pitchers in the National League is a lot easier than handling them in the American League.
Trey Hillman giving Miguel Olivo the night off last night because of a heavy workload and because he's been dinged up quite a bit by foul balls. He just took one off the shoulder in the very first inning. No swing. Paul Schreiber is the umpire at first.
In the series in St. Louis, Ryan, the Royals played a little bit behind Albert Pujols at first base, and they surprised him and went down and took a base. And you look at his stolen bases, he's got 9 stolen bases. So anytime you take him for granted, he takes advantage of you.
Outstanding changeup, strikes out Ludwig. 1 away in the first inning.
Well, this is a changeup that really just stayed down. It turned over and stayed on the same line. That changeup to a right-handed hitter gets in trouble when the ball runs back into the right-handed hitter.
And now Chris Duncan, who's the designated hitter. Well, Kyle has had some starts in his Royals career where he's had some problems, giving up some runs in the first inning, but tonight it's not necessarily his control. He's throwing strikes. To Butler. This has been a tough play for Billy. A perfect throw to Bloomquist, back to first for the double play. The Cardinals get 2 on a Pujols 2-run single. Two to nothing Cardinals. Kyle Davies giving up a 2-run single to Albert Pujols. And now the Royals starting lineup tonight, presented by M&I Bank. David DeJesus, Willie Bloomquist, Billy Butler, Mike Jacobs, Jose Guillen. We've seen that combination for several games now, so appears that Trey Hillman is pretty set with the top 5 in the batting order, followed by Callaspo, Tien, Olivo, and Meyer. And the Kia scouting report on 27-year-old Brad Thompson.
Well, Ryan, this is an interesting one. Hitters batting 3rd in the order has given him a lot of trouble, 7 for 11. And opponents hitting .333 with runners in scoring position. So that's all pluses for the Royals tonight.
Oh, and 1-2. David DeJesus lost a hitting streak of 8 games on Wednesday against Arizona, but then responded last night with 3 hits and 4 RBIs, and that's drilled into deep right center field. Back goes Ludwig, and the Royals are on the board. DeJesus with his 4th of the year. DeJesus with 8 RBIs on this homestand.
Well, Ryan, we talked about it earlier. how much more confident he's becoming at the plate. I talked to Kevin Seitzer about it before the game, and he said that David just seems to be much more confident right now than he was a week ago, and we could just see signs of it on the road trip when he started to get jammed, forcing the ball back to left field. And here he just takes a fastball, 88 mile an hour sinker that didn't really get down. And you know, David down middle in, he's got some pop, and he really took advantage of it right there.
Slow roller to short. Tyler Green throws out Bloomquist. One out in the bottom of the first inning. 87 degrees at first pitch tonight. Starting right on time at 7:10 Central Daylight. Official time and temp presented by the Parking Spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The Parking Spot at KCI. Well, we showed you the problems that Thompson has had with number 3 hitters. And here's Billy Butler with one out. Royals did not see Thompson either as a starter or a reliever when they were in St. Louis last month. And he's faced the Royals 7 times in his career. He's made 3 starts. 5.31 ERA. So it hasn't been easy for him against the Royals. His record is 1-2 against KC. Right at the bag. Khalil Green throws over to Pujols, and 2 down. Let's find Joel Goldberg.
Well, we're with Michael Dodd, who, hold us up here. He caught the home run ball off of the back wall. All right, guys, hold on. Off of the back wall, and he caught it. Tell me about what was going through your mind as you caught that.
Oh man, it was crazy. It just came off the back wall, and I was just like, I'm grabbing that. And we had a little fight for it, but I pulled it out in the end. So.
All right, nicely done. So he's got the ball. By the way, this the red hat that he's wearing is Arkansas. He's got the blue shirt on, Royals colors, but that's not a Cardinal hat. Just wanted to make that clear. It's an Arkansas hat. It says go Razorbacks. We can live with that, guys.
All right, Joel. Well, a lot busier out there tonight than it was when we were out there in right field. As Jacobs pulls it foul, it's 0-2. A home run to right center field from David DeJesus in the top of the first inning. Colby Rasmus hit one right off the wall right below where we were sitting a couple of nights ago.
Well, you had your glove and you were ready. We thought Mike Jacobs might do us the favor.
Doesn't mean I would have caught it, but I had my glove on. I read the instructions before I put it on. 1-2 on Mike Jacobs. He had a good series against Arizona. 5 hits, 3 extra base hits. Coming in tonight at 241.
And what made it interesting out there, you don't have about maybe 3.5, 4 feet between the fence and the wall, and anything goes ricocheting off that wall, everybody's probably going to have to duck.
Just missed. 2-2.
See, there's not a lot of room right there, so you got to be ready. Now, if you're going to wait for it to hit off the wall, you got to either keep looking forward and take it in the back, or you could be wearing it. That would be Ryan, that would be watching your lip area right there.
The #1 rule when you take the baseball field, according to Frank White, keep the ball off your lips.
Keep it off your lip. It'll be in your glove, where it should be. I think as little leaguers, we've all worn one on our lip as little leaguers.
Yeah, if you don't believe us, take one off the lips and you know what we're talking about. Thompson's in there tonight because Kyle Loesch is on the disabled list. He was originally injured against the Royals on May the 23rd. He was hit by a pitch from Ron Mayhay when he was attempting to bunt late in the game, and couldn't come out for the top of the 9th inning to go for the complete game shutout. Well, Thompson now is making his 4th start of the year. Coming off a win Saturday at Cleveland, allowing 1 run. It was unearned in 6 innings. To Schumacher at second base, and Pujols there to retire Jacobs, inning over, but David DeJesus goes deep to right center field. It's a 1-run game at the end of 1. Cardinals with 2 in the top of the first, and then David DeJesus with a home run in the bottom half. Kyle Davies back to work, reminding you that Saturday afternoons were made for baseball, and tomorrow Fox brings you the Royals and the Cardinals, one of the national games of the week, tomorrow at 3 p.m. on Fox. So no Royals on Fox Sports Kansas City tomorrow. Yadier Molina, Rick Ankiel, Khalil Green coming up here in the second inning. Off the end of the bat, and that allows Bloomquist to catch up behind the bag and throw out the Cardinal catcher. So 1 down for Rick Ankiel. Sellouts expected tonight, tomorrow afternoon, and over 30,000 at this point expected on Sunday afternoon. 0-1 on Ankiel. No balls, 2 strikes. Ankiel had a right shoulder injury, a violent collision with the wall in early May, and he came back from the DL in the final game of the Royals Cardinals series in St. Louis. Missed the curve, and Olivo down to first. That completes the strikeout. Second for Davies, and once again, here's Joel.
Well, guys, had a chance to talk to Tony La Russa. He was out here early today getting a workout in on the field. I said, what do you think about the place? And one word, he said, gorgeous. Now, he had an interesting take. He said, I want to know about that little golf course up there in right field. He said, how many holes on that? I think I'd like to have a little coaches outing up there, a little competition. He said, though, that everything that was done here, absolutely first class. He said the only thing they forgot to replace was visiting clubhouse manager Chuck Hawk. Now, he was joking about that. I know that, and we know that, but he wanted to point that out.
1-1 on Khalil Green. Well, that is a joke. Chuck is one of the more popular visiting clubhouse managers in the American League.
You think he may have been saying it to say, well, Chuck is the only familiar thing I remember. Everything else has changed.
I think Tony said that because he knows that Chuck can take it. In fact, Chuck, I guarantee you right now, is in the visiting clubhouse sweating bullets because we're even talking about him in the first place.
Yeah, he's kind of a private guy, but fun though. He's a lot of fun.
That's drilled into center field. Meyer won't quite get there. Extra bases for Khalil Green. Seems like every Cardinal that's come up in the last 2 innings. Talk about someone who's been on the disabled list this year, and Khalil spent time on the DL shortly after the Royals left St. Louis with an anxiety disorder.
But right here, you know, all the balls have been up, Ryan. This is a cutter up, and he stays right on it and really gets down through it, and the ball really jumped off of his bat. But like I said, right now, his location is good, but he's just a little up in the zone right now.
So Green at second, 2 down for Tyler Green. Rookie shortstop, another Cardinals former first-round pick. 2005, same draft that produced Colby Rasmus. Tatian at third. Inning over. So the double doesn't hurt Davies in the second inning. Royals baseball brought to you tonight by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. And by AT&T. Switch to the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. 2-1 Cardinals. Jose Guillen takes ball 1 from Brad Thompson. 5 hits, 3 RBIs for Guillen against the Diamondbacks. And the Cardinals had him played perfect with Schumacher favoring the middle. And Thompson, who got a sinker up to David DeJesus, which resulted in a home run, now has 4 straight outs on the ground. And will face Alberto Callaspo with 1 away.
And that's pretty much what Brad Thompson tries to do. He just wants to throw that sinker, induce ground balls, and mix in his slider. But when runs on base, he likes to mix in the changeup a little bit more.
Sometimes, however, the ground ball finds a hole. Cardinals is on base with a 1-out single. Disappointing series for him, Frank, against the Diamondbacks. You figured he was pretty pumped up to go up against his former team, but he only had 1 hit and then a couple of errors last night.
Well, he said he's going to let the game come to him. He wasn't going to try to put too much into it, but that's always easier said than done. But he does a great job picking a fastball right here out over the plate and staying back through the middle with it.
And that brings us to Mark Teahen. We told you at the top of the show, and Teahen has done very well against this pitcher. Batting .284 coming in tonight. Thompson's ahead, no balls, 2 strikes. 9 at bats for Teahen against Thompson. 5 hits, 3 of those hits for extra bases. Gets away from Molina, and Cardinals will move up to second base. So the Cardinals go from having things set up for a double play to the tying runner being at second base.
Well, this is that slider that really, when it hits the ground, it's going to go back to the catcher's left, and it just got too much of the glove and kicked off to the right. As a base runner, you just got to read the ball out of the pitcher's hand, and they practice that in spring training. Early in spring training, Rusty will tell the guys, anything like to be in the dirt, just go. Because it's very rarely the catcher handles that ball, and so but they have to be ready. They have to see it out of his hand, and they see it in the dirt, and they can just take off.
And the count goes from 0-2 to 3-2. Teahen had a tough series in St. Louis. He was just 1 for 12 with 6 strikeouts. The Royals had a tough series. They won 1 of the 3 games, but they were shut out in the first 2. And that's a good at bat. Down 0-2, takes a walk. And that brings up Miguel Olivo. Olivo hitless in the Arizona series. He did drive in a run and then got the night off last night. Brian Pena was behind the plate. Olivo looked like he decided he was going to swing before that pitch was even thrown.
Well, that's the one thing he's got to make pitchers give him what he wants. He's got to have a little patience. He's chased his pitch a lot this season. A lot of it is being over anxious. You can see halfway through the swing he knew he had made up his mind, but I mean that missed by a lot. So you got to have an idea when you go up there what you're trying to do, and you know they're going to try to stay away from him, but he's got to make it be a strike. He's got to go the other way, and then hope they make a mistake on the middle end.
And he hits a bloop towards shallow right. Schumacher, who's a natural outfielder, played it like an outfielder and ran it down in shallow right.
Well, he really made a nice play, Ryan, on this play. Talked to him a little bit before the game about second base, and he said he's really enjoying making the transition. You know, Tony La Russa still late in the game. If the game on the line, they still make a change at second base and move into the outfield, because they feel like that not only gives him a chance to stay out of a situation that possibly could slow the progress of him coming back at second base, but also improve their outfield at the same time.
Well, at least from what we've seen, it's been a good decision for the Cardinals to put him at second base. Only 3 errors in his first 54 games. You were impressed when we were in St. Louis that this is his first year playing second base.
I mean, he's got the right body for it. He's got the first step quickness. You know, being an excellent outfielder to begin with. So it'd just be a matter of just learning the routines of turning feet to get the feet to the shortstop and actually turning double play yourself. And Dave McKay, the first base coach, who was also a second baseman, says he was skeptical at first, but after seeing how hard he worked, he bought into it real quick.
And now an easier play for Schumacher on the pop-up. The Royals strand 2 in the second inning. Two to 1 St. Louis as we go to the third inning, and tonight's Roadrunner Turbo speed pitch comparison through the first 2 innings. Kyle Davies has hit 92. Brad Thompson has hit 91. And you can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. Well, we spent some time talking about Skip Schumacher as a second baseman, and now we turn our attention to Skip Schumacher as the leadoff man. And at least against the Royals this year, as he gets another base hit to right field. Both times swinging at the first pitch. So much for that theory. Well, if you're a leadoff guy, you only lead off once a game. Skip Schumacher against the Royals this year, that was his 14th at bat. 12 times it's been leading off an inning. 12 out of 14.
Well, sometimes that's not good. That means they get a lot of men on base. But both base hits tonight have been up. The changeup was up in the zone. He was able to stay with it. Kyle just got to relocate. And I think velocity-wise, he's fine. The stuff on his curveball is good, but right now he's just a little up in the zone.
Colby Rasmus followed the Schumacher single with a long single off the wall in right field in the first inning. And they both scored on the Albert Pujols single. Royals would love a ground ball and a double play, obviously, but this is one of the toughest guys in the major leagues to double up. 196 at bats. He is grounded into 1 double play. Some of that is luck, some of that is knowing the situation. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That could be hitting a lot of fly balls too.
And that's ripped into right field. So Schumacher going to test Guillen, who makes a strong throw to third, but offline. And behind him, Rasmus moves up to second base. So it's a single for Rasmus and down to second on the throw. And Albert Pujols will hit in the same situation he hit in the first. And as Pujols comes up, we'll take a look at tonight's You Call It. Presented by Sprint. What's the best way to pitch Albert Pujols? Hard and inside, low and away, pitch around him. Just trust your stuff. Of course, that depends on who the pitcher is. The Royals are going to walk Pujols.
Well, you go back to that base hit, Brian. Jose really keeps that throw down, and now they got a first and third situation. They might have to pitch to him right there, but that's the importance of being able to keep the ball down and manage the game and keep the double play in order.
Pujols did not have a single RBI against the Royals in St. Louis last month. The Royals pitched around him. They walked him 7 times in the series, 3 intentional. So the bases loaded, nobody out. And again, You Call It, presented by Sprint. The best way to pitch to Albert Pujols, hard and inside, low and away, pitch around him as the Royals just did, or just trust your stuff. which works a lot better when you're Zach Greinke. You can trust your stuff against Albert Pujols, but
well, you know,
not everyone else in the league.
I've always had a problem with that statement, trust your stuff, because hey, what are you trusting it to do? You know, you know, I think that one of the key things to pitching to Albert is that you just have to make good pitches in good location. And if he gets a base hit, he gets a base hit. You just don't want to serve him up a fat pitch right in the middle of the plate with men on base.
Kyle struck out Ryan Ludwig in the first inning and got him to chase a cutter down and away. It's 1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, number 4 hitters for the Cardinals, Ryan, are only hitting .225. That's 28th in the majors. I mean, that puts a lot more pressure on Albert Pujols.
Well, I don't.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if you're ever going to find, and the Giants had the same deal with Barry Bonds. I don't know if you're ever going to find someone that's going to provide Pujols so much protection that you're going to go, hey, let's pitch to Albert Pujols, right?
I definitely agree with that.
See, Ludwig last year in 2008, that was his 10th pro season and his first full year in the big leagues, and he made the most of it. By far his best major league season. And he pounds one to deep left field. De Jesus all the way back. That is a grand slam and into the glove of a Cardinal fan. Cardinals don't have great offensive numbers up and down, but they will hit home runs.
Well, you look at the location of this pitch, Ryan. It's supposed to have been inside, and Kyle left it up, and it ran it back out over the plate. And Ryan Ludwig really got the head of the bat through, and that's a big grand slam right there, especially after walking Pujols.
That's the first grand slam of Ryan Ludwig's career. 0-1 now on Chris Duncan. Still nobody out. So Ludwig with his first major league grand slam and driving home Albert Pujols along with Rasmus and Schumacher. That's the 1,000th career run scored for Pujols. It's 1-2 on Duncan, who grounded into a 3-6-3 double play. Still 1-2. Doesn't seem like a big deal now, Frank, but the double play that Duncan grounded into in the first inning as Jamie Wright begins to warm up. That was the first time after a week of struggling with the play that the Royals turned a nice 3-6-3 double play, beginning with Butler over at first. Royals had a tough time with that play, especially in the Cleveland series during the last road trip.
Yeah, most of those throws were down and pretty much handcuffed the shortstop on both of those throws. So it was nice to see them go out this afternoon and work on it a little bit, and then to have it perform to perfection in the game.
And now the count goes from 0-2 to 3-2 on Duncan. Son of Cardinals pitching coach Dave Duncan, brother of Yankees player Shelley Duncan. The Yankees were here last year and the Cardinals had a day off. And Dave and Chris jumped in the car and made the drive over to Kauffman Stadium to watch Shelley play for the Yankees. And that's a walk. So the first 5 have reached against Kyle Davies in the 3rd inning. Well, the 4th of July is on a Saturday this year, and the Royals have an early game, 12:10. And And the Royals are bringing back the halter top. The first 10,000 ladies will receive this halter top, and the first 10,000 guys will get a classic ringer tee thanks to KMCI. 38 the spot. The halter top, the best all-time Royals promotion according to a fan vote. Now Molina with Duncan at first base, still nobody out, and a chance for two, and the Royals turn a double play. So the Royals turn their second double play tonight. Molina is 0 for 2. That's the second time he has grounded out to short. Next half inning, we're going to be joined by Missouri Governor Jay Nixon, who's here enjoying the I-70 series. 1-0 on Rick Ankiel, struck out in the second inning. And that's hit hard to deep left field. DeJesus at the track, and Ankiel goes deep to the opposite field. A 5-run third inning for St. Louis. So Rick Ankiel, who I think has more than Cardinal fans pulling for him, the way he's turned his career around.
Well, he's a dead fastball hitter, Ryan, and that ball was up out over the plate, and they did a great job standing behind it and drive. You know, he's got great power, and the breaking balls sometimes give him trouble, but fastballs, if they're in his zone, he hits them hard.
One and one to Khalil Green, double to center field back in the second inning. So the Cardinals, and we're not even through the top of the third, 7 runs on 8 hits. Good fastball there by Davies. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And the Royals, who were outscored by the Diamondbacks the last 2 games, 24-10. You figure they're a bit gun shy as it was coming in tonight, and now it's 7-1 in the third inning. And it's 2-2 on Khalil Green. Rick Ankiel, the former top Cardinal pitching prospect, turned power hitting outfielder. Kyle Davies was walking off the mound towards the dugout. He was convinced that was strike 3. But not so, according to home plate umpire Ed Rapuano. And that ball is belted to deep left center field.
Ryan, you go back to the previous pitch on pitch track. This is at the bottom of the strike zone. That could have easily been a strike right there, but it forces Kyle, who's been having some location problems already. Now he comes right back, and this one is a little bit higher, but right in the middle of the plate. And Khalil Green really got the bat head through it and drove it into left center field.
That's 3 home runs given up by Davies in the third inning, and in comes Jamie Wright. Well, Kyle Davies, a tough outing tonight, and it happened so fast. Might be asking Gil Mesh, man, what did you see? 2 runs in the first inning, 6 here in the third, a grand slam to Ryan Ludwig, and then back-to-back solo homers from Rick Ankiel and Khalil Green, and just like that, he's out, and Jamie Wright is in. Tyler Green takes ball 1. Frank, this is a bad scenario for the Royals any way you look at it. I mean, the score obviously, but The Royals have been having some bullpen problems lately, and now they have to turn to the bullpen in the 3rd inning.
Well, the bullpen got a lot of pitches in last night, and to be able to have to come back today, this is the first game of this series, and to really stretch your bullpen out the first game of a series, that can hurt you the rest of the series. So they're going to have to really get 2 good quality games in the next 2 starts.
Green rolled out to 3rd his first time up. Almost got him on the hip. 2-1. The first 4 reached in the inning. The Royals decided to intentionally walk Albert Pujols, and then Ryan Ludwig made the Royals pay with a grand slam, then 2 outs, and then the Ankiel and Khalil Green home runs, and now it's 2-2 on Tyler Green. Got a piece of the home plate umpire, Ed Rapuano. I'm sure the Royals are still a little unhappy with him after not getting the call to Khalil Green, and then the next pitch is a home run, but that only turned a 7-1 game into an 8-1 game.
Well, that's true, and you know, when you don't have it going, Ryan, you're not going to give many breaks. You know, in this game, you got to make your own breaks. You got to go out and make good pitches, and you can't really boil it down to 1 pitch. You got to make a lot of pitches in the course of the game.
Wright gets the final out, and that's the inning. Cardinals bat around and score 6. Well, right on cue, we talked at the top of the broadcast about the Cardinals needing to provide some help around Albert Pujols, and Ryan Ludwig with a grand slam after the intentional walk to Albert Pujols, and it's 8-1 St. Louis as we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. And a strike on David DeJesus, and a very special guest, Missouri Governor Jay Nixon, is here, who is wearing a blue tie, even though we know you grew up a Cardinal fan.
Well, I'm a Royal fan tonight, that's for sure.
Okay, well, that's good.
Mr. Glass made that very, very obvious a few minutes ago.
Well, we can't fault a guy who grew up rooting for a team all his life and hanging on to that allegiance, but nice to see you in the blue. You look good in blue.
Well, and I did spend my last year law school trying to see George Brett hit 400 in the bleachers over here. I don't want to tell my professors about that. My grades would show that.
I think David Glass would admit that growing up, he was also a Cardinal fan before he got hooked on the Royals.
Yeah, Mountain View, Missouri.
Well, when was the last time you've been to Kauffman Stadium? Have you had any
I came and looked.
Any pictures or anything of the ballpark before tonight?
It's the first time I've been in since it's been open this year. I was supposed to be here originally for the ribbon cutting and missed it. But what unbelievable facility! I mean, and you can get all the way around it. The fans were excited, and the best $7 value in professional sports is right out there in the left field area, guys. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
Well, they've had a lot of action out there today. I'm sure they're pretty excited.
Yeah, that's a lot of souvenirs.
And we're not far behind across the parking lot. Arrowhead Stadium is going to be state-of-the-art once again when that's done, as Bloomquist lines it foul off the right field line. Of course, we have a baseball game to talk about tonight, but you were not far from here earlier this week to talk about the Chiefs opening training camp here in the state of Missouri.
Real exciting. Yesterday we finally struck the last part of the deal to move the Chiefs training camp for the next 5 years to St. Joe with another 5-year option. Great opportunity for the region, plus they're putting money into a facility for Missouri Western that's going to be state-of-the-art. A great partnership there.
Tyler Green at short takes care of Willie Bloomquist, so 2 down in the 3rd inning. Well, the governor given the honor before the game tonight of throwing out the first pitch, and as you know, Governor, the cameras are always rolling, and that's not bad. That's a good firm pitch for a guy who, you know, reading a lot about you, is mostly a golf and basketball guy. You must have played a little baseball to run it up there like that.
A little bit. That's they call that a strike if you're the governor, but they don't call that a strike if you're pitching for the Royals.
So you're paying attention to the game tonight, obviously.
It's a little high and outside. I mean, the guy did have to come out of his stance to catch it. The catchers usually don't have to do that for strikes.
Another ground ball to short. I wish we had more time to chat, but we'll let you enjoy the game. You do enough interviews and shaking hands. I hope you enjoy the ball game tonight.
Wonderful to be here, and best to the fans. What a great to look out and see these blue and red folks here in a sold-out stadium here right in Missouri. It's just it's a great opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. 8-1 Cardinals, top of the 4th inning. And what else is new? Skip Schumacher leads off. 15 at-bats against the Royals this year, 13 leading off an inning. He singled to right twice tonight, scored both times. 1-1 from Jamie Wright, who replaced Kyle Davies with 2 outs in the 3rd inning. A 6-run 3rd with 3 home runs after Khalil Green homered. Wright coming on and striking out Tyler Green. And Tien makes a leaping play at 3rd. The first out of the 4th. Here's tonight's AMCO AA MCO clutch play of the week. Might be one of the clutch plays of the year, or maybe of the decade. An 80-pitch complete game by Luke Kochaver. That was on Friday against the Cincinnati Reds. Royals sweeping that 3-game series. Tough night for Luke last night, but that's one of those starts that he will never forget.
That's one of those beauties of baseball, Ryan. You come to the ballpark every day, and you never know what you're going to see, and to be able to witness that was pretty special.
Colby Rasmus 2 for 2, 2 singles, 2 runs scored, and that's past Butler and into right field. 3 singles to right. And Rasmus, who had only 1 hit in the series in St. Louis earlier this year and didn't charge a Willie Bloomquist base hit to center field aggressively, and Willie hustled and turned it into a double, which eventually led to the winning run for the Royals on a Sunday afternoon. But completely different series tonight, going 3 for 3.
If you don't know much about Cody Rasmus, you know one thing: he's got some good hands. I mean, his bat is quick, and he really throws the bat hit to the ball, and the ball jumps when he hits it.
Albert Pujols, 2-run single in the 1st, intentionally walked and scored in the 3rd. And the intentional walk to Pujols was the 22nd this season. That is far, far and away the leader in the major leagues. The next closest in the National League, Chipper Jones of the Braves, has 9, 22-9. The American League leader, Justin Morneau, has 8. Pujols with 22. You Call It, presented by Sprint. We asked you what's the best way to pitch to Albert Pujols, and 48% agreeing with every other team in the National League and American League is pitch around him if you can. You know, it's really amazing, Frank, the numbers that he puts up, because he doesn't get a lot of good pitches to hit.
No, he really doesn't. He just kind of sits there patiently and just waits for you to make a mistake. The good thing that good hitters do, like Pujols and Barry Bonds, when they get their pitch, they don't miss. And that's the beauty of being a guy who's going to be productive on a regular basis when you're not really getting a lot of pitches to hit.
2-2. You know, I guess part of his game we don't give enough credit. Obviously, he's very strong. He's very fundamentally sound. He has great knowledge of the strike zone, but the concentration that he has to have, knowing that he might get one good pitch a game, but he always seems to be ready for it.
Well, yeah, he saw that pitch right out of Jamie Wright's hand. He probably was guessing right there where he chased that breaking ball.
And he's down on strikes. That's something Pujols does not do very often. So Jamie has struck out 2, runner at first, and 2 away for Ludwig.
Boy, really threw a good running sinker right here. This ball just started on the middle of the plate and just came across the Albert's back leg and really with some sink on it, and Pujols actually swung right over that ball.
And to add to his phenomenal statistics. He is actually one of the toughest hitters in the National League to strike out. Normally, big power hitters like him have a high number of strikeouts, but not Pujols. Ryan Ludwig grand slam in the 3rd inning. That turned a 2-1 game into a 6-1 game, and it was right after the intentional walk to Pujols. Kyle Davies struck him out in the 1st. Two and 0. On the corner, 2-1. Two and two. Look out. Line drive over the Royals' first base dugout. Right before Ludwig hit his grand slam, talked about his career year last year. On the disabled list this year with a hamstring injury, and the injuries have really been the only thing that have kept him from being an all-star caliber player. And hit by a pitch, 78 miles an hour, so no intent there. 2 on, 2 out.
A lot of times, Brian, when you get trying to overthrow that curveball, it'll back up on you, and that's what happened right there with Jamie Wright. He tried to snap it off a little bit too hard, and the ball backed up and right into Ludwig.
And here's Chris Duncan, rolled into a double play in the 1st inning, walked in the 3rd. Here's another Cardinal player you can talk about trying to overcome an injury. He had neck surgery last year. And a surgery that included having a prosthetic disc placed in his neck, and believed to be the first professional athlete of any kind in the United States to have a surgery like that. I mean, if he played any other sport, football, hockey, even basketball, can be a lot of contact in a basketball game. Chris Duncan, because he's a baseball player and there isn't as much impact, able to keep his career alive after that extreme neck surgery. It's almost similar to the Tommy John surgery when he had the original Tommy John surgery before it was called Tommy John surgery. It was kind of a last-ditch surgery that nobody else had ever had before, just to keep his career alive. And how many guys have had surgery since? You know, Chris Duncan is the first professional athlete to have that unique neck surgery. 2 and 2.
Well, Tommy John went from a power throwing left-hander to getting hurt and having that surgery and coming back and becoming a different type of pitcher. He extended his career quite a few years throwing that sinker on the outside corner of the plate and down.
You know, his surgery is probably the most remarkable, not because he did it first, but he pitched 13 years after that surgery. And Duncan strikes out. So a scoreless 4th for Jamie Wright with a couple of strikeouts. Well, the big hit for the Cardinals, a grand slam from Ryan Ludwig. Here's the Arby's pitch by pitch when Kyle Davies struck him out in the first inning.
Well, Kyle really came out trying to establish his fastball, and he was able to get some run on his fastball there. Another fastball. That's one of the few curveballs he threw, and he came back with a fastball on the outer half. But that's one of the best location hitters that he pitched to all night right there.
And Mike Jacobs is down on one pitch in the bottom of the fourth inning against Brad Thompson. A couple of ground balls to the right side for Jacobs. So a big lead for Thompson. We've got 3 ground ball outs in the first, 1 in the second, 3 in the third, and 1 here in the fourth. So his sinker has been sinking with the exception of a pitch to David DeJesus in the bottom of the first. And David lined into the Pepsi party porch for a home run. 1-1 on Guillen, grounded out to second in the second. And Thompson doing exactly what his defense would want him to do at this lead. Work fast, throw strikes. Ankiel handles it in left field. 2 down in the fourth. And up comes Alberto Callaspo, who singled in the second inning. Here's tonight's Firestone leaderboard, and with Callaspo up there, we can talk about Royals doubles leaders. And it's a tie between Billy Butler and Callaspo. David DeJesus with 13. He hit his 4th home run tonight. And David also has 6 triples, which leads the American League. It's 0-2 on Callaspo. Well, the Royals still have plenty of at-bats tonight. They have to make sure the Cardinals don't score again and start chipping away against Thompson if they want to get back into the game. But this is another one of those games, Frank, that we talked about last night. The Royals just not played in a lot of close games lately. Even the games they've won haven't been close games.
And what that does, it takes the ball and the game right out of the manager's hand. You know, where you could hit and run, steal bases, and in a close game and get something going. When you get down by 7 runs, now you got to hit your way back, and that means you're going to have to get a lot of hits and some extra base hits to get back in this ball game.
Khalil Green, who normally plays shortstop, brings it down in foul territory off of third. Fifth inning, Cardinals by 7. The first Royals Hall of Fame Classic, presented by Willie Wilson Baseball and Farmland Foods, takes place Friday, July 17th at 4:45. You'll watch a special exhibition game featuring Royals greats against former Major League Baseball All-Stars. Right around the time of the Royals opening of the Hall of Fame out in left field, which should be great. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Kurt Nelson is the director of the Royals' brand new Hall of Fame, and just hearing about some of the interesting artifacts and items that he's been collecting, and as big as that building is out there, that's going to be a lot of fun to visit.
Well, he asked me for some childhood photos. So I was able to find him one when I was in the 6th grade, so I was able to give him that one, but he's been collecting all along.
That is the one part of Kauffman Stadium, one of the most touted part of Kauffman Stadium that the fans haven't been able to see yet. But in July, not only will you see the Hall of Fame, but you're going to see a lot of great former players here at Kauffman Stadium as Molina lines it into right. That's the 11th hit for the Cardinals, and Molina's first.
Yeah, that's the day that I'm not looking forward to. Jamie Wright left this ball right out in the middle of the plate, Ryan, and Molina did a good job going with the pitch and hitting a line drive to right field.
That's a day you're not looking forward to?
That means I got to go out there and play 4 innings. I'm not looking forward to that. No, it's going to be great to open the museum, but I mean the Hall of Fame. But you know, those 4 innings, I'm not looking forward to that because I know what the next 2 or 3 days are going to feel like. Kind of like going to fantasy camp all over again in the middle of July.
Well, your attitude is very similar to a lot of other former major leaguers. I already played my games, right?
Well, you know nothing good can happen.
Here's that glove angle that you've brought up a few times that Olivo tries to handle on pitches outside. He's able to prevent Molina from advancing.
Well, what you try to do is you want to maybe turn your glove over, but he takes his elbow out, and that's kind of hard to control the ball in your glove. So if he keeps his elbow in and turns the glove up, it's a lot easier pitch to catch.
Wright lets it go. Callaspo tags out Molina, and the Royals get 1 out. So Molina helping avoid the double play by stopping in the baseline. Ankiel at first with 1 away. There are some standing room only tickets remaining for tomorrow's 3:10 game, and Sunday about 2,000 tickets remain for the final game of the series. That is just foul. A pretty good play by Tian, and a nice casual scoop by Billy Butler.
Yeah, that was a little too close to listen for the umpire to decide what you want to do. So it's better to get that one and get it on his way. So he's pretty close to the foul line when he catches this ball, so he can't tell whether it went over the bag or not. So he's got to get rid of the ball and listen to the umpire later.
Well, you said, you know, there wasn't time to listen to the umpire. I think you would need one of those special spy-like satellite listening devices to hear the umpire. A very casual foul ball called by Joe West.
Well, that's when they really got to be loud to help the fielder out, because he really can't see. He's not playing on the line. So if you want to help a guy save his arm in that situation, just be real emphatic that the ball is foul and do it as early as possible.
Two and one on Khalil Green. Well, he has a double and a home run tonight. I don't know about you. I was happy not to see Nick Stavanoa in the lineup at third base. He had a couple of big hits against the Royals in St. Louis. He was sent to the minor leagues yesterday. Fouled off of Green's foot.
It seemed like everything he hit was a double. I think he had a couple doubles right inside the third base bag, and they were all big hits too.
Both of them in the first inning. Khalil Green traded from the Padres, the Cardinals during the offseason to take over at shortstop. The Cardinals had an awful time last year getting any production out of their shortstops, and hoping that Green could kind of pull things together in St. Louis after a tough year last year in San Diego, which included him breaking his hand in frustration, punching a locker outside the Padres dugout in the middle of the game. That is over the screen behind home plate. A wild pitch gets Ankiel to second base.
Well, this one right here is just uncatchable right here. First it's on the left-hand hitter's batter's box, and there's no way Oliva can get over and block that, and just goes right up over our camera and into the seats.
Barry Weinberg, athletic trainer, checking on Green, who might still be stung. A few pitches ago fouled one off of his foot. Barry Weinberg and Tony La Russa were together in Oakland. A walk. So first and second, one away. First walk given up by Wright. Brings up Tyler Green. First time through the order. Talked about a lot of Cardinals who have spent time on the disabled list this year, and because of that, it's opened up a lot of opportunities for rookies, including Tyler Green. The Cardinals, and this is remarkable that they're still in the race, game and a half back in the Central. They've used 13 rookies already.
They'll say Tony's been able to get the most out of his players, and they say if anybody can get the most out of a player, Tony La Russa can do it, and so far this season he's proven it.
Tyler Green is grounded out, struck out. 2 balls, no strikes. When we were in St. Louis a month ago, almost exactly a month ago, at that point the Cardinals had used 6 rookies, and that was a big story, but now 13. Couple in the lineup tonight, Green and Rasmus. 2 balls and 1 strike. It is going to be a busy night for the bullpen tonight as Jamie Wright replaced Kyle Davies with 2 outs in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, Jamie threw 24 pitches last night in his outing, so the pitches are mounting up for him too.
Two and 2. Royals do have an off day coming up on Monday. This would be a much bigger disaster if this was the beginning of a 10-game stretch or a 12-game stretch or the dreaded 20-game stretch, but Trey Hillman can look forward to 3 days from now when everyone gets a day off. And we'll hope for longer outings from Brian Bannister tomorrow and Gil Mesh on Sunday afternoon. Bloomquist charges a little bit off balance, but has enough balance to get it over to Butler for the 2nd out. So all 8 runs charged to Kyle Davies in 2 2/3 innings. And over that stretch, by my count, 57 pitches. And now 42 pitches from Jamie Wright. And Skip Schumacher is not leading off. Now there is a chance, Frank, that Rick Ankiel at 3rd or Khalil Green at 2nd could be picked off here, and then we can keep the streak going.
Well, I think if they got picked off here, then Tony La Russa would have something real serious to say.
Schumacher, 2 hits, 2 runs scored so far. And 2 balls, no strikes. Tony La Russa telling us when we were in St. Louis last month that he was just amazed by a player at the major league level moving from the outfield to the middle infield. There have been some guys who have moved from the outfield to the infield, maybe play some first base when they started to slow down, or maybe they don't have the same zip in their arm, but to go to the middle infield for the first time as a professional at the major league level, Tony La Russa couldn't think of anyone other than Skip Schumacher. Of course, as we know, second base is one of the easiest positions to play. I'm just kidding.
Only if you got the skills. You can put guys over there, but I don't know if you want to put that word play in front of their name. But you look at Skip Schumacher, he has all the intangibles. So he's got the right body style. He's got the first step quickness. He's got the arm strength. He has an idea of what he's doing on the field. I mean, I think Tony researched that in his mind before he decided to make that move. But he not only put him at second base, but he also has a method for bringing him along.
Trey Hillman comes jogging out of the dugout immediately after ball 4. He hasn't pointed to the bullpen. He might be out to check on Jamie Wright, and this might be, hey, I could really use you because of the situation we're in, but if you're losing it, I'll make the change. And apparently Jamie said the right thing. Trey is back to the dugout.
So he had like 24 pitches last night, and I think it's up over 40 today. So that's a lot for a bullpen. It's almost like he's starting right now.
And once upon a time, Jamie Wright was a starting pitcher in the Colorado Rockies organization. He did make 9 starts last year for the Texas Rangers, or 2 years ago, 9 starts for the Rangers. But last year, all 75, which is a big number, 75 appearances out of the bullpen. So they're loaded up with 2 outs, and Rasmus at the plate, who is 3 for 3 with 3 bullets to right field and 2 runs scored. 1 ball, 1 strike. One and 2. Rasmus, another one of the 13 rookies that the Cardinals have used this year. "22 years old, Frank. Pretty good skills, pretty good looking swing for a 22-year-old.
Well, I like his hands. I like the way he throws the bat head to the ball.
Some hitting coaches will put a lot of emphasis on how a hitter addresses the ball as they're waiting for the pitch. You know, you kind of can practice your bat plane to the ball as you're waiting for the pitcher to throw, and it appears as Rasmus is loosening up. There's Hal McRae, who's the Cardinal hitting coach. Rasmus really looks like he's trying to emphasize on keeping those wrists soft and loose.
Yeah, you want to be real loose with your hands, and
he has 4 hits. This is going to score 2. Jose Oquendo holds Schumacher at third base. And the Cardinals lead 10-1 in the 5th inning.
Well, he just got that quiet body, Ryan, and it really keeps those hands loose. And when he goes to the swing, then he firms up, but the bat head really gets through the zone.
Roman Colon comes into the game with 2 down. Well, it's 10-1 St. Louis. 2 in the first, 6 in the third, and now 2 here in the 5th. And the Royals in the 5th inning have already turned to their 3rd pitcher of the night, Roman Colon. And all he gets is Albert Pujols with runners at 2nd and 3rd and 2 down. 8 runs charged to Kyle Davies in 2 2/3. And now Jamie Wright has given up a couple of runs, and he's still liable for Schumacher at 3rd and Rasmus at 2nd. While we have a moment, let's look at tonight's league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. top interleague averages at Kauffman Stadium, and 2 of the best are in there tonight and have had an impact. Pujols at 388. He has a 2-run single in the first inning. Johnny Damon at 338, or David DeJesus at 338, and he homered in the bottom of the first. Got a couple of former Royals in there with Damon and Ibanez and Edgar Renteria. Royals have seen him with the Cardinals. Speaking of Raul Ibanez, when Pujols singled in 2 in the first inning, he passed Ibanez on the RBI leaderboard. That gives him 60. Ibanez with 59. Raul was just placed on the disabled list by the Phillies. Prince Fielder leads the league with 64. To Bloomquist at short. And the inning is over. 2 more for St. Louis, and they lead by 9 to the bottom of the 5th. Royals baseball brought to you tonight by Budweiser Select. Full flavor, 99 calories, the exception to the rule. And by Colorado Tourism. Plan your summer vacation at colorado.com. Changes for the Cardinals in the bottom of the 5th. Joe Thurston takes over at third base, and the Royals were concerned about Khalil Green, who had fouled a ball off of his foot. So that's not a surprise, but this one is. Chris Duncan takes over at first base. He was the DH tonight, so the Cardinals have lost their DH, which really isn't a big deal. They're used to the pitcher hitting. So Pujols and Khalil Green are out. And it's 0-2 on Mark Teahen, who walked against Brad Thompson in the second inning. And Thurston tested right away. That typically happens when a player is fresh into the game. And he throws out Teahen, and now Thompson has retired 9 in a row, and here's Joe Goldberg.
Well, we are down behind home plate with Jason Sudeikis of Saturday Night Live, and also Shawnee Mission West alum.
Yeah.
First chance back at Kauffman Stadium. What do you think?
I think they did a nice job. I think they did a real nice job. It's nice to know where the money went. I was a little disappointed by the size of the screen. A little disappointed.
Not big enough, too small.
I don't know. It's not sitting right with me. It might be the size. It might be the size. Yeah. I want to hook up my Nintendo Wii to it and see what it looks like. Though. See how it looks on there.
You were telling me, you said, what camera are they going to get us from? And I said, well, the one all the way out by the bullpen. You said, man, that's pretty far away.
Yep.
That's not quite what you have on Saturday Night Live, is it?
No, it is not. No, we couldn't read the cue cards from this distance. That's far. That's where a lot of the balls that the St. Louis Cardinals have hit tonight have landed out in that area.
It hasn't worked, but hey, that one just landed in left field. So
we went opposite field, took our gaze away from the lens, and brought us over here.
See, so Miguel Olivo with the double. Maybe Jason Sudeikis is bringing us a little bit of luck.
My voice, merely out through the now that it's going through here, out here, into the microphones, into the speakers that you have in the players' helmets, right?
Right, in the helmets. Yeah. Right, Miguel Olivo, and then it was translated into Spanish, although he speaks English and knew what was going on. I'll let you tell the jokes, not me, because you're actually funny. You told me that you got a nice little tour. There's a balk, by the way.
We got a balk. Look at this. Here we go. We got to do this every night.
If you come back, well, we're not doing tomorrow's game. If you come back on Sunday and there's another balk when you're on, we'll
then we know. Then it's officially a streak.
All right, so you grew up here in the area. How big of a Royals fan were you growing up in the Overland Park area?
I was a big Royals fan. I mean, we're talking about the sweet days of those '80s. John Wathan, Willie Wilson, Frank White, George Brett, who played third.
Yeah. I heard that.
Yeah, the hot corner. But yeah, I mean, I was literally I was telling my friends out here. These are all we got a bunch of buddies. And
want to introduce your friends?
Hello. No, you don't. They're ridiculous. No, but they're friends, and they're also they're my AA sponsors.
Uh-oh. It happens.
But I was at Game 6 in '85.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was up in this area, right on the other side of one of the metal railings. The screen was a lot smaller then, and it was like that off weird yellow. You could see it was all dot matrix. The old scoreboard.
The Royals just scored, by the way, so congratulations.
Yeah. So now here we go. It's 10-2, which is where you're supposed to hold your hands when you drive. 10-2. So this is what we call in baseball the driving score. 10-2. 10-2. Perfect driving.
Guys, we don't get entertainment like this all the time, but this is Saturday Night Live and local product. Jason Sudeikis, and I understand you were a nice basketball player as well in high school.
Yes, as they say, the older I get, the better I was.
Of course.
Yes, but no, I dabbled. I dabbled in the hoop arts.
Being on TV and being famous and in the comedy world, super famous. I would imagine you've met a nice share of athletes over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
About some of them, drop some names.
What's that? LeBron James dunked on him. Sacked Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and Gisele Bundchen. Let's see, what else? Who else? Oh, I won a gambling bet against Pete Rose.
Hold that thought. We got to go. I think we got to take a break. Plus, the guy wants to get in here. He's holding a beer. All right, we've got much more coming up here from Kauffman Stadium.
10-2 Cardinals. David DeJesus producing the Royals' first run tonight. And here's the Coors Light Freeze Cam leading off the bottom of the first against Brad Thompson in this home run into right center field, which made it a 2-1 game. DeJesus belting his 4th of the year. Coors Light Freeze Cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And unfortunately for the Royals, the Cardinals went on to score 8 runs before KC just got one in the bottom of the 5th inning on an RBI ground out from Mitch Meyer. Well, with 10 runs, 12 hits in 5 innings, you figure the Cardinals have had several big hits, the biggest coming from Ryan Ludwig, a grand slam against Kyle Davies in the 3rd inning. That turned that 2-1 game into a 6-1 game. Cardinals have hit 3 home runs, all coming in that 3rd inning. Two and 1 on Ludwig. 2 2/3 for Davies. 2 innings for Jamie Wright. And now the first full inning for Roman Colon. He got the final out of the 5th. Willie Bloomquist to the outfield grass. 1 out in the 6th. Beautiful night as the temperatures cooled a bit. There were some isolated thunderstorms that moved through Kansas City, mostly hitting the southern part of the metro area, but that cooled the temperatures from the low to mid 90s earlier today, and a very comfortable 87 degrees at first pitch, and now a beautiful sunset. Sellout crowd watching, but Cardinal fans a lot happier tonight so far than the Royal fans. And as is the case every year, a lot of Cardinal fans making the trip west for this series.
And a lot of our Raw fans went to St. Louis, you know, for that series, and that was a pretty exciting series too. A lot of big crowds, and I think that's what makes the rivalry good. People want to be at the ballpark, they want to show up, and it just creates a, you know, you got some people live in St. Louis, some live in Kansas City, other parts of Missouri, and it's kind of nice to bring them all together with one common theme for a couple of weeks.
Strike 3 called. So Duncan is hitless. First strikeout for Cologne. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals. They may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Molina into right center. Guillen on the run, off his glove. And that makes it roll deeper. Molina isn't going to mess around with more than a double. And Guillen getting after Mitch Meyer out in right center field. There might have been a communication mix-up.
Well, when you're going back deep in the right center field, you really got to know where everybody is, and you got to know who's got priority on these plays. But Jose went as far as he can go. The ball actually hit right off the tip of his glove right there. And Mitch went to the backup position on there. So that was pretty much what Mitch Meyer was supposed to do. I mean, one guy goes after the ball, the other guy looks to back up, and he did a good job.
And into right center again. This time Meyer is there to make the catch to end the inning.
Here we go to the bottom of the 6th, and the Royals are trailing St. Louis 10-2, and this is a Sonic Slam inning. And our contestant is Rick Comfort from Overland Park, Kansas. If the Royals hit a home run this inning, Rick will win $600. But if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Rick will win $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals.
Willie Bloomquist, Billy Butler, and Mike Jacobs. And Willie into left field for his first hit, 1 for 3. Well, if you were to write the game story about tonight's, it would be dominated by the Cardinal hitters with 10 runs, 13 hits in 6 innings. But maybe lost in that so far is a good performance by Brad Thompson, pitching well with the big lead. And that's only the 4th hit he's given up all night. Oh, 0-1 to Billy, who has grounded out twice to the left side of the infield.
Well, this is what you want to do, Ryan, when you have a big lead. You just want to throw strikes. You want to throw strikes and make the opposing team put the ball in play and let your defense get you off the field. When you go out trying to strike out guys and be too fine, not a lot of good things happen.
Force out at second base. Bloomquist had to freeze in and out of Tyler Green's glove. So Billy's at first with 1 out. Well, back in 2009 Royal Nights, which feature $5 upper level seats. That's for Monday games, except for late September. It features view level infield, high V box, and high V view level seats, all for just $5. The next one, June the 29th against the Minnesota Twins. Jacobs past Duncan, and Butler will go first to third. And the throw comes in wild, but backed up by Thurston. Duncan may have been screened a bit by Billy Butler. Didn't play it well, Frank, but I wonder if he got a good look at that ground ball.
Well, he got in between Hop too, Ryan, and played it off to the side. And rather than trying to block it, if you stay right in front of this ball and try to knock it down, you got a chance. But he got off to the side and opened up that left side, and the ball went right by his glove. So that's why playing first base on a ball like that, all you want to try to do is focus on knocking the ball down. But once you open up, now the ball does anything different than it's going down the line.
So first and third for Guillen. Ground out to second base, a fly out to left field. Oh, 0-2. That's an error charge to Chris Duncan on the ground ball from Jacobs. The first error of the night for either team. Hit hard to Thurston. And it's a double play. Hard slide into second base by Jacobs. The Cardinals still turn it. And the Royals, with runners at first and third, 1 out, come up empty. Here's the Verizon Wireless game summary. It's been a long night for the Royals already. It was a long night after 3 innings. Cardinals led 8-1 at the end of 3. Now it's 10-2. 3 home runs all coming in the 3rd inning. This is the Ryan Ludwig grand slam, and Kyle Davies doesn't get out of the 3rd inning as he gives up 8 runs. Here's Joe Thurston batting for the first time. Came on defensively for Khalil Green in the 5th inning. Green has one of the 3 home runs for St. Louis. Also had a double, a walk, 2 runs scored. Second full inning for Roman Colon. All the way to the signage board, 2-1. At the knees at 94, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Butler to Colon, 1 down in the 7th inning. Royals baseball brought to you tonight by Panera Bread. Explore a menu full of hearty soups, hand-tossed salads, inventive sandwiches, and savory breakfast items. Panera Bread, where every detail matters. Well, a great night to be outside and to be at the ballpark on a Friday night I-70 series. So very one-sided game, unfortunately. I think even for Cardinal fans, I mean, they're enjoying what they're doing on offense, but this hasn't been a game since the 3rd.
Well, that's true, and a lot of the fans that heard talk to some before the game were just excited to see the new ballpark. That was also part of the reason for making the trip down.
Tyler Green 0 for 3. So one of those guys that's feeling left out. The team has 10 runs, 13 hits. But he is without a hit. He and Chris Duncan, the only starters without a base hit so far. Two and 2. The pitcher spot right now is the number 3 position. You don't say that very often in an American League ballpark, but in the 5th inning, with the Cardinals way out in front, Tony La Russa taking Albert Pujols out and putting his DH Chris Duncan at first. That'll land in the seats off to the right field side. Pujols got a day off yesterday, and then after being lifted tonight went into the stands and just caught that ball. Got a day off yesterday. It was interesting. Tony La Russa felt like it was a good time to give him a day off. Plus, with the Cardinals coming here in New York, a couple places where Albert's going to be very busy with family and friends, and knowing that his schedule is going to be demanding, felt like that might be the best time to give him a day off. Cardinals lost to the Tigers yesterday. They were going for a 3-game sweep over Detroit. Some of the little things that managers pay attention to when they put lineups together, where guys are playing as far as the location, what team they're playing against. Hustling up the line. Green is just barely out, and a nice play by Bloomquist. So 2 down in the 7th inning. Remember, you can stay connected to the game on your computer. If you subscribe to MLB.tv, you'll get 100 out-of-market games per week. You can catch games you missed on demand. And a premium subscription allows you to pause, fast forward, and rewind live TV.
Yeah, Ron, that's one of the things that managers are responsible for, is just knowing when to give guys days off, knowing either by looking from a fatigue standpoint, or like you said, maybe the city they're going to and what their responsibility is going to be when they get there. A lot of times what you do is you try to look for that day off and try to give some of your big guys a day off before a day off, and it's almost like 2 days off. And that's how they kind of put it together.
Third hit for Schumacher, fourth time he's been on base. So 1 on 2 out with Rasmus coming to the plate. Bud Select shows us what's on tap. Remember, tomorrow is a 3:10, not 6:10, because of the Fox national broadcast. Veteran broadcaster Dick Stockton with former major leaguer Eric Karras will be doing the game tomorrow. And the Royals on the road at Houston and Pittsburgh. And that'll wrap up interleague play. If it ever comes down, Mark Teahen wants it. And that's the inning. 2 1/3 scoreless for Roman Colon. (10-2) Cardinals, 14 hits. Skip Schumacher with 3 of them. Colby Rasmus has a career high 4. Panera takes us around the league. Cubs over the Indians 8-7. The Royals had jumped in front of Cleveland again in the standings. Detroit in front of Milwaukee. Cincinnati beating the Chicago White Sox. That's who the Royals are chasing now in the standings. Minnesota getting a 57th RBI from Justin Morneau. Minnesota 2 games back of Detroit. Chicago 4. The Royals 5.5 coming in tonight. Cleveland at 7. One and one on Alberto Callaspo, a single and a foul out to third so far tonight. Chased a bad pitch there. It's 1-2. Turning point in the game tonight, the Cardinals 6-run third inning. 3 home runs. Ryan Ludwick a grand slam. Rick Ankiel and Khalil Green with back-to-back solo homers. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Brad Thompson has pitched 6 very good innings. He does not have a strikeout, and he has walked only 1. Make it 2. His first 9 appearances this year out of the bullpen, and then with Kyle Loesch on the disabled list. Made 3 starts before tonight. Beat the Indians with 6 very good innings on Saturday, allowing only 3 hits, 1 unearned run. That was a close game, 3-1 tonight. He's had a big lead ever since the 6th inning. Duncan down to second. That's the only out the Cardinals will get. Teahen is on. That makes him 0 for 2 with a walk. Coming up on Friday, July the 3rd, you'll watch the Royals and the White Sox at 7:10. And then it's a special Independence Weekend Fireworks Friday from Hy-Vee and Pepsi. Independence Honda Buck Night as well, with dollar specials on hot dogs, peanuts, small Pepsis, and game day magazines. And a fireworks show after the game tonight. Miguel Olivo has a double. He has scored one of the Royals' runs tonight. Deep left field. Ankiel in front of his own bullpen, and Olivo homers for the 5th time in his last 9 games.
Well, we talked about Olivo being middle in. This sinker just ran right back across the plate, right into his zone. And when he stays middle in right now, Ryan, he's real dangerous, and he was able to get that ball in the left field bullpen.
Oh, 0-1 to Mitch Meyer. 0 for 2, but he has an RBI ground out. Shallow center field, and Rasmus is there, 2 down. Olivo on the last road trip, the final 3 games in Cleveland, homered in each of those games, and then on Sunday afternoon homered against the Reds. So he had 4 home runs in 6 games, and now tonight 5 in 9 games. So a good night for him, a double and a home run after getting the night off last night against Arizona. By the way, that's 3 home runs given up this year by Thompson, and 2 in this game. He'd given up 1 home run in 30 innings. So for the most part, that sinker has been staying down. DeJesus hit the first home run for the Royals tonight. That was in the first inning. Drives this one to left, handled by Ankiel. And then Miguel Olivo with a 2-run home run here in the 7th. Ten to 4 St. Louis, top of the 8th inning. Here's another Arby's pitch by pitch.
So it's the 4th inning. Jamie Wright throwing to Albert Pujols. He's able to get the slider on the outer half. Here's another curveball right here that got him out front. And this sinker he ran down in underneath his back leg, right underneath his bat, and got the strikeout.
There's Jason LaRue, who's going to pinch hit for Brad Thompson, the number 3 position in the batting order. The Cardinals gave up the DH spot back in the 5th when their designated hitter Chris Duncan went to first to replace Albert Pujols. Schumacher has scored twice. Rasmus has scored twice, driven in 2. Pujols, 2 RBIs, a run scored. Ludwig has hit a grand slam. Ankiel a home run, 2 runs scored. Khalil Green a home run, 2 runs scored. This is the 3rd straight game the Royals have given up double digits. 2-1 on LaRue. Big bounce to Bloomquist. So LaRue is out in the 8th inning. And now Home Depot shows us our defensive play of the game, and it takes us back to the 4th inning.
This is Jamie Wright. This is Mark Tien just taking a little soft liner off the bat of Schumacher right here. Didn't really sting it, just got in on his hands, and Mark did a good job just waiting on it and timing his jump just perfect.
The Home Depot doing more on defense. And now Ludwig, grand slam in the 3rd inning. That's a big hit tonight for the Cardinals. Cardinals got 2 in the 1st inning off of Kyle Davies. Albert Pujols with a 2-run single, but the Royals came back in the bottom of the 1st. David DeJesus homering against Thompson. And St. Louis with 6 in the 3rd and 2 in the 5th to pull away. The Royals have scratched together some runs since, but still down by 6, and the Royals with just 6 more outs to go on offense. That was a breaking ball that got away from Cologne.
That really looked a lot worse than it was, but it was just a curve ball that got away, and 78 miles an hour, it just didn't come in. That a lot of times when a pitcher try to overthrow it, it'll back up on him, and that's obviously a curve ball and unintentional right there.
That barely stayed on the radar. And now that's drilled to deep right. And Guillen with his back up against a chain link fence for the second out. Just announced the attendance tonight, a sellout for the Royals and the Cardinals, 37,660 here tonight. Many of them staying for a fireworks show after the game. Another sellout expected tomorrow. And another reminder, do not pay attention to the schedule that you received at the beginning of the year. There's not a 6:10 game. Tomorrow is at 3:10 to accommodate the Fox national broadcast. And Ramon Colon faces 3 in the 8th inning. It's time to bring you up to speed with the AT&T Rapid Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Bottom of the 8 changes for the Cardinals. Jason LaRue, who pinch hit for Brad Thompson on a double switch, stays in at first base. And Chris Perez is the new pitcher. So Thompson gives up 4 runs in 7 innings, only 82 pitches. So very pitch efficient, worked quickly with the big lead, getting his defense back into the dugout. Didn't have a single strikeout in his 7 innings. And now Perez on for the 27th time. I've always felt, and I didn't come up with this idea, I heard this from someone else, and I know I'm not alone in this, but I always thought with interleague play, it would be fun for the fans if, when the National League teams came to the American League ballparks, you use the National League rules so they can see what that's like, and then vice versa. I don't think it'd be very exciting to have the DH in the National League, but just maybe flip-flop the rules.
Well, I think everybody agrees that the National League game is a little more strategic, and you get an opportunity to see the double switches, and at the same time, I think the game's a little bit quicker, and the game, like I said earlier, it makes it easy for the manager to handle pitching because the game handles the pitching. It tells you when you need to pinch hit and things like that. So that takes it out of the manager's hand from trying to get one more hitter or one more inning out of a guy. The score of the game will tell you exactly what you need to do.
Willie 1 for 3 is hit in 7 straight games. It's 1 and 2 from Perez. Well, most people who prefer the DH, their reasoning is, I don't want to see some weak hitting pitcher come to the plate. And to some extent that's true. You can understand they'd rather see someone who can really handle the bat, but I mean that's just part of it. Nice play by Green to get Willie Bloomquist. But there's a lot more that goes to it. As you said, it's the strategy of it. It's not about, you know, a 140 pitcher that's hitting. It's everything that revolves around that 140 hitting pitcher.
And I think you find out a lot about your pitcher too. I mean, he's got to help himself to win games by bunting guys over and occasionally getting the base hit. And also there are times when you have to protect your hitters and know that you have to hit, and you might have to take one in the ribs or whatever it might be. So you find out a lot about your guy too at the same time.
And I think the pitchers would be better hitters if you eliminated the DH, because when the DH came into effect in what, 73, it had a trickle down effect into the minor leagues and a college and a high school, and all of a sudden no pitchers were hitting. Butler, deep center field, and gone off the stone wall. Billy with his 6th of the year. And now the Royals are down by 5.
Well, this is Billy Butler at his best right here, Ryan. Billy takes a 96-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle and drives it just straight away to center field and hits out the top of the second wall in center field.
So it's a 3-home run night for the Royals. But 2 of the home runs with nobody on. The other home run was a 2-run home run. 5 runs, but still only 6 hits. The Royals continue to chip away at that large Cardinal lead as Jacobs loses a slice of his bat. It's 0-2. So anyway, I think if you got rid of the DH, and that may never happen, this is just a hypothetical, obviously, but if you get rid of the DH, I think that would trickle down into the minor leagues, college and high school, and all of a sudden the pitcher is hitting. So when they do get to the big leagues, they've been hitting quite a bit, and maybe we'd see more 220, 230, 240 type hitters as opposed to 140 and 150.
Well, there are a lot of people that feel like the DH it's time for it to go. When it first started, Ryan, it mainly started to take aging players who still could hit, still had big names, keep them in the game for fan appearance. But now I think that's outlived its usefulness.
2-2 on Jacobs. Down on strikes, a fastball at 95. 2 outs in the 8th inning. That's the first strikeout for a Cardinal pitcher tonight. Royals baseball brought to you tonight by Thoroughbred Ford. Want a great deal on a new F-150? At Thoroughbred Ford, we'll make it happen. Well, this is Cardinal pitching at its best. They do have some good arms, but Cardinals not known for their strikeouts. They are known for very few walks, throwing strikes. They come in tonight 4th in the National League in ERA, the fewest walks allowed in the National League. Thompson walked 2 in his 7 innings. Guillen is 0 for 3. The Cardinals for so many years, Frank, taking some really good arms, maybe taking a little velocity away, but better command and control, and better ERAs as a result. And LaRue, nice play for a catcher playing over at first base. Royals get a run in the 8th on the Butler home run. Ten to 5 St. Louis to the 9th inning. Changes for the Royals. Tony Pena Jr. is now at shortstop. Willie Bloomquist is out. Kyle Farnsworth takes over on the mound as the Royals had to go to the bullpen very early tonight. Kyle Davies out in the 3rd. Jamie Wright pitched 2. Roman Colon pitched 3 1/3 impressive innings. And now Farnsworth with Molina, Ankiel, and Thurston coming up. 8 runs charged to Davies, 1 of them unearned. 2 runs charged to Wright. Molina lines it to left, and Jesus pulls it down. Molina 2 for 5 tonight. Farnsworth still has that left index finger heavily bandaged with some black tape, and we told you the story when he came to the game last night. Apparently he got in the middle of literally a dogfight, a couple of his American bulldogs, and trying to separate him. One of them bit him on the finger. 4 stitches.
That had to smart.
Doing a good job of finding that black tape so it would blend in with the glove. It's 1-1 on Ankiel, homered in the third inning. 6-run third, where the Cardinals had 3 home runs, including Ludwig's grand slam. That's a good hard slider there, 1-2.
Well, Farnsworth does a good job with this slider right here, Ryan, and he's been kind of experimenting with a little two-seamer to try to get some movement, but she's still primarily going to be fastball slider.
Tien with the play on the pop-up. 2 down. Joe Thurston to the plate. Thurston batted once, grounded out in the 7th inning. Oh and 1. Two strikes on Thurston. Biggest lead tonight for the Cardinals, 10-2. Three-pitch strikeout, and Farnsworth impressive in the 9th. Olivo down to first. That completes the strikeout. Royals coming up. Bottom of the 9th, Callaspo, Tien, and Olivo. Live from a packed Rivals sports bar. Joe Goldberg, Jamie Quirk, and the Royals certainly seeing red tonight. 6 home runs, 3 for the Cardinals, 3 for the Royals. One of the Cardinals home runs coming with the bases loaded. Highlights, interviews from the field, and a preview of the next 2 games. Tomorrow at 3:10, Sunday at 1:10. Here's former Royal Dennis Reyes. Callaspo, Tien, and Olivo coming up. Alberto about 100 points better from this side of the plate, but he's down on 1 pitch. Alberto 1 for 3 with a walk. Reyes, the 3rd Cardinal pitcher tonight. Perez pitched the 8th, gave up a solo home run to Butler, and 7 solid innings from Brad Thompson, who looks to win his 2nd of the year, and it would be the 29th win for a Cardinals starter this year. That's the most in the National League. Scoring 5 runs against the Cardinals, that would have been a big deal when the Royals were in St. Louis last month. Remember, they were on that crazy stretch where the starters were absolutely lights out. And even with the Royals scoring 3 on Sunday, as Tien rolls out, when the Royals left St. Louis, and again, this is after 3 runs on Sunday, Cardinal starters had allowed 4 runs in 43 2/3 innings. They weren't giving up anything. So not quite that hot now, but still the best in the National League in wins. There's another former Royal, Todd Wellemeyer, who beat the Royals during that weekend series. Oh and 1 from Reyes to Miguel Olivo. Miggy doubled and scored in the 5th, 2-run home run in the 7th. Oh and 2. Down on strikes. Ball game over. So the Royals, after a 4-game winning streak to begin this homestand, sweeping the Reds and winning game 1 against Arizona. Now the Royals have dropped 3 in a row. They've been outscored 34-15 over that stretch. There's Colby Rasmus, who had a career-high 4 hits. Right behind him, Skip Schumacher, who had 3. Top 2 hitters in the Cardinal lineup. Had a combined 7 hits. And then the middle of the order, Pujols and Ludwig combined for 6 RBIs.
And that seemed to be the big inning right there, that the 3rd inning, the 3 home runs. The grand slam really capped it. And, you know, Kyle was up in the zone, and really the Cardinal hitters really made him pay for it early, even from the very first pitch of the game, first 2 hits of the game. And he wasn't able to recover from that big 6-run inning.
So 2 in the first, Pujols 2-run single, and then 6 in the 3rd. The grand slam from Ludwig, and then back-to-back home runs from Ankiel and Khalil Green, and the Cardinals running away with game 1. Time now for Boulevard Royals Live.
This is the Royals Live postgame show, presented by Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City's beer.
Welcome into Boulevard Royals Live. Cardinals take game 1 of this 3-game set, 10-5, breaking out the offense, and Skip Schumacher was a part of that with 3 hits and a walk in this one, scored a couple of times, and we're joined right now by the St. Louis Cardinals second baseman. All right, just talk about getting to Kyle Davies, a guy that certainly is capable of having some very good games and some good stuff. What did you see from him early on?
Yeah, he's had really good games against us in the past, and we try to be aggressive. And he's got really good off speed, and we try to be aggressive with his fastball early and not try to spot him a strike, because then he can use all his weapons. So it worked out well tonight, and who knows what happens next time, but tonight was good.
I was just telling you before we came on that 17 at-bats now, and you've led off 13 times in those 17 at-bats against the Royals. I don't know if you make anything of that, but how important to be able to set the tone for the team.
Well, it's huge. You know, anytime you can occupy first base with Albert Pujols coming up to the plate is big, because that means he has to be pitched to. And you see what happens when Rasmus and both of us, you know, get on base. Good things happen, and you know, Albert and Luddy came up big, and it was huge for us.
All right, we'll let you go. The lights are out. Fireworks are coming. Thanks, Skip.
All right, thank you.
All right, that is Skip Schumacher. Not sure what you guys see, but the fireworks are starting, and we'll head upstairs to you guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Joel. And the lights went out literally as the fireworks show begins. Well, what we can talk about tonight, Frank, is how we open the broadcast, and that is pitch to Albert Pujols, or do you pitch around Albert Pujols? Our fans certainly thought that you should pitch around Albert Pujols, but 2 examples of that happened in the first 3 innings. In the first inning, the Royals decided to pitch to Albert Pujols.
Well, they did it. They pitched him in the first inning. He took a little cutter on the outside corner and pulled it into left field for a base hit.
So 2 runs in the first as Schumacher and Rasmus come to score. Then in the 3rd, runners 2nd and 3rd, the Royals decided not to pitch to Albert Pujols, but
Ryan Ludwig came up behind him, and this is a grand slam right here. And Trey probably looked at it being down 2 runs. You don't want to take a chance on being down 4, so he went ahead and walked him. And this is what Tony La Russa has been looking for all year, someone to come up behind Albert Pujols and still deliver the big blow.
So he's one of those guys, I mean, he has an impact whether he swung the bat or not.
Well, that's true. I mean, 37 home runs last year, so you know he's got the ability to drive it. He's not swinging the bat quite as well this year, but when you make a mistake, then he was able to make the Royals pay for it tonight.
Royals lost the game on Wednesday night 12-5. Last night you and I came on the air before the game started and said, okay, here's one of those character games for the Royals. Do they let 12-5 turn into another loss, maybe 2 losses, or do they flush it, as Luke Hochevar likes to say? Another 12-5 loss, and now losing tonight 10-5.
I mean, that's pretty disappointing. You're trying to get going in the right direction, and right now you're just sort of like treading water. And, you know, from an offensive standpoint, you know, David gets a big home run to kind of get some momentum going early. The offense really didn't capitalize on that, and then Billy hit a home run later in the game. I think the offense is just not getting a chance to get going. And when you get down early, then that really hurts you when you're playing a good ball club.
Got down early tonight. Kyle Davies out after 2 2/3 innings and gave up 8 runs. 9 hits in 2 2/3 and 3 home runs.
Well, I think that's going to be the most disappointing part. And like I say, whenever the Royals pitchers go to the mound, they always have good stuff. It's just going to be a matter of how well they locate it. And I saw where I felt that Kyle was up right from the very first pitch to Schumacher in the first 2 hits of the game, and then he was up when he gave up the home run. So I think those are the things that kind of hurt you. You're up and you miss location and you kind of pay for it.
And then we just heard from Skip Schumacher talking with Joel, and it makes sense now. What the approach was is that the Cardinals were very mindful of Kyle Davies' secondary pitches, so they wanted to get on him early, and there were a lot of first pitch base hits.
And that's why I say, you hear us say every day, what does this pitcher need to do to be successful? And we'll say it probably the rest of the year. You have to come out and establish your fastball. You have to locate your fastball both sides of the plate and stay out of the middle of the plate.
Well, the Royals have now lost 3 blowout games in a row. Offense is starting to warm up a bit. The Royals hit 3 more home runs tonight. DeJesus, Olivo, and Billy Butler. Billy's to straightaway center field off the stone wall. The Cardinals win it. Joel and Jamie are back after this.